Gerrit, is there anything specific that you're focusing on this spring?
Not really. I think that I'm coming in a good spot and just looking to settle in, especially the first few weeks as, the volume of throwing ramps up and, everything's exciting and new. And so just stay disciplined early and get on the right track.
You mentioned settling in. Just how odd is everything with all the protocols in place? I know you guys dealt with it during the regular season a bit last
Yeah,
year.
it's well, I mean, the weather's nice here, and so it just encourages us to get outside. So we'll make the best of it that we can, and it's always nice to see the whole group again. Missed a lot of the guys, so there's some positives, even though we still got to navigate this virus.
Thank you.
Take another from Sweeney Murdy. Sweeney, go ahead.
Gerrit, how you doing? It's nice to see you.
Good to see you.
I was reading the Q&A you did with Steve Serby, the New York Post, and one of the things that stood out to me when he asked you about your goals, you said, I'd like to settle in to a good delivery sooner rather than later. And I'm curious, for a guy who's done this, pretty much his whole life, at this point, how do you go? What's the process like for settling into a good delivery? What are the easy parts? What are the hard parts as you navigate these next month and a half here?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, we have time. I mean, we want to finish at the end of the year with our best delivery. So, you don't want to rush, but you want to be deliberate with your practice early. The challenges are, the volume ramps up really quick. You're starting to face hitters. Right after you face hitters, you go into games. As you go into games, every single time you're pushing the amount of pitches. So quite often, especially earlier, you're walking off the mound fatigued. And I think the most important thing to try and to settle into your delivery as quick as possible is to, try to limit the amount of bad reps and try to, have a high percentage of good quality execution. So really just staying disciplined, on focusing on every rep and trying to bring more good out than bad, knowing that we have enough time to prepare and, the process will take care of itself naturally as long as we throw quality work out there.
What are the visible signs for you that your delivery is comfortable and allowing you to do what you want it to do? I recall, many years ago, Mike Messina said getting his fastball to the glove side was the sign that everything is moving in the right direction for him. What are the signs for you?
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty staple read from a lot of pitches, or for a lot of pitchers rather. The extension side fastball is it forces you to be really balanced through your delivery and deliver the ball on time. So it's is a really good indication of how well you controlled your delivery to that point. I think for me, I look at that pitch along with just the fastball profile in general, not having try to limit the arm side run, try to be as efficient with the rep as I can. I always like to try to put as minimal effort as I can and get as much power and much efficiency as I can out of the rep. So I'm focusing on those kind of things right now and looking for the ball to carry through the glove and the pitch shapes to be where I want them to be. So that's what I'll do.
Thank you. I'm done, but is everything okay over there?
Yeah, it's like just a collapse. It's a bit windy. Hi, Marlon.
It didn't hit Gerrit. Don't worry.
No, it's okay. Everybody's good.
Marley Rivera, you have the next question.
Sorry about that. Hello, Gerrit. Hope you and your family and Caden are doing well. So, Gerrit, you have shared a rotation with elite pitchers. In Houston, you had Cy Young winners like Justin Verlander and Zach Greinke. How does it benefit you as a pitcher having those types of guys around you? Now you're going to get, two-time Cy Young winner Corey Kluber and even the unfulfilled potential of your former teammate Jameson Taillon.
Yeah, just one more. Dallas Keuchel just can't snub Dallas.
Of course, never snub Dallas.
No. Corey's a true craftsman. Always enjoyed watching him pitch. I think along with quite a lot of people. I think Jameson is in a really good spot. I'm really encouraged. We have a really good it's already been a couple days. Everybody's riding on a high, getting to see each other again. But so far, everybody's enjoying everybody else and getting to know people. I think the talent is certainly there. I mean, we've heard the organization talk about it. You can look at the roster card right now and say, wow, the ceilings are really high. So I think there's a lot of excitement there, and it's just fun to root for these guys. You want Monty to take the next step forward. He's an easy guy to root for. You want JMO to do it as well, and we have a lot of young talent right there behind, and I think everybody's pulling for Corey to reestablish that back-to-back Cy Young kind of form. So it's a really enjoyable rotation and a lot of potential. So looking very, very forward to the season.
You can take another from Chris.
And Gerrit, just as a quick follow-up.
No,
Go ahead, Marley. Sorry.
No, I didn't want to interrupt if you wanted.
No,
Anyway,
go ahead.
I just wanted to do a quick follow-up. Do you consider the 2021 season your maybe true first season with the Yankees because of what happened last year being so weird, and you will hopefully get to play 162 in front of Yankee fans at some point?
Yeah, well, certainly excited to play in front of the fans. That's for sure. So that will be very, very exciting. But every year presents different challenges, right? So even though the volume of games isn't the same as normal, and there were no fans and everything, I mean, it was still a season, and there were a lot of things behind the scenes and a lot of protocols and how we had to all navigate, going through this challenging time that made it, just, I feel like, on par and mentally, at least, with all the other seasons. So last year was my first year, and this year, we have hope of getting back to normalcy and at some point in the future, and maybe even looking forward to the end of this year or next season. So that's kind of where I'm at on that.
Christy, go ahead. You have the next question.
Gerrit, I'm just curious. Last year was such an unusual year in terms of workload and starting, stopping. How do you think that will carry over for you personally this year? What precautions might you take because of that? Or did you change any of your off season because of what last year was like?
I mean, I just took a little bit of time to take a break and start throwing a little earlier than normal. But I guess that's normal because we made several deep postseason runs the years before. So, it's still a normal off season for me. Just, every year is different. So you do have to kind of adjust. As far as the workload for this year, I'm really not anticipating a lot of big changes. I think there's going to be a lot of, managing how people feel throughout the season. Certainly different parts of the season are more important than other parts of the season. We're out there to win every single game, but it's the manager's job, the pitching coach's job, the organization to keep that big picture kind of, at the forefront of their minds and understand how they want to, kind of hedge that bet or go about that process. And certainly feedback from the player is super helpful and super crucial in a lot of those things. I don't know a firm plan. I just know my job is to be prepared. And so I'll just do that.
So you would say you felt pretty normal coming in after this off season?
This has been normal. Yeah, this has been normal. I mean, I'm excited to be here at this time. It's been a nice, normal off season, and so it feels familiar. It feels familiar. So it's nice.
Thank you.
Eric Boland, you have the next question. Please unmute.
Hey, Gerrit, just following up on Marley's first question. On the outside, there's a lot of question marks about the rotation, mainly because Corey and Jameson are coming off of, the injuries that they are, the surgeries they are. Do you not have the same concerns about what's behind you in the rotation as so many other people seem to?
I don't have any concerns. No, I don't. It's not really my job to be concerned about the other guys. I'm just here to root them on and be a good teammate. And so the work ethic is there, the discipline is there, the talent is there. Obviously they're going to have to overcome some adversity, and they're in the process of doing that themselves right now. And so the most important thing for me is to just be there by their side and continue to encourage them.
And then how long does it take you in an off season to get over the kind of loss that you guys took last year in Game 5 of the ALDS?
Yeah, I don't think they ever, well, certainly they don't ever, I can remember how every single season of mine has ended. And so I think that, you know, I was probably emotionally affected for a few weeks after that. And now we got to move on. You know, you got to prepare. So you can't let it, you know, and negatively impact your preparation or your mindset going forward. But if, you know, I carry it in my back pocket. I remember who we lost to and why we lost. And, you know, it's a motivational thing for me to try harder this year and try to get past, you know, where we did last year.
Thank you, Gerrit.
Dan Martin, please unmute. You have the next question.
Hey, Gerrit, we were talking to Aaron yesterday, and he mentioned that you were going to work with Gary as well as Kyle this spring and into the regular season. How important is it for you to, I guess, be able to have success with both of those guys? I know a lot was made last year of pitching to Kyle in the postseason. You know, what are you going to focus on this spring with maybe getting even more comfortable with Gary?
Yeah, I think, you know, let's not forget the third catcher that we have in Robinson, obviously not on the roster yet, but just signed. So I mean, spring training is a time to build, you know, a team atmosphere and a good cohesion between the group. And, you know, there's always a special bond between pitchers and catchers, especially the catchers, you know, can permeate through both the starting staff and the bullpen. So, you know, whether it's Kyle, whether it's Gary, whether it's Robinson, you know, every pitcher's job is to, you know, try to foster good communication and continue to make a positive impact on those relationships. So, you know, whoever's back there during spring, whoever's back there during the bullpen, you know, it's your job that day is to try to get your teammate better. And so that's what we'll do.
Excellent.
Brendan Cuddy, you have the next question. Go ahead.
Hey, Gerrit, thanks for taking the time. What did you do today, workout wise?
I got my conditioning in. I fielded a few PFPs. I'm knocking out a press conference, and I got to watch a couple guys throw bullpen.
Gotcha. Also, what's the scouting report that you gave the Yankees on Jameson before they acquired him? What did you feel like it was important they know about him?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you know, the advice was, you know, it was solicited. It's not like first of all, it's not like I'm making calls trying to, you know, pull the strings around here and acquire anybody. But I was asked of my opinion, and I have no opinion on the mechanics or the delivery of any player or the health or any of that kind of stuff. I just spoke personally about a great friend. As if somebody asked you about one of your great friends, I'm sure you'd give them a glowing review as well. And I just spoke to the character of the player and you know how well I think he's dealt with adversity and overcome challenges.
Thank you.
We go to Lindsay Adler. Lindsay, please unmute.
Hey, Gerrit. I'm curious, this being your second year with the Yankees, you're more familiar with Matt Blake, staff, with, you know, the analysts, things like that. Do you feel a difference coming in this year than maybe you did last year when everything was sort of new to you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. My goodness. You know, a year, you know, even though it wasn't 162, there's enough sample there, you know, to kind of learn the personalities, you know, the different people that we work with all the time. Not only as I feel like it's benefited me, but I feel like it's benefited, you know, Matt and other guys as well. Matt was, you know, in the same position that I was, you know, coming in first year. So it's important for him to, you know, get his eyes on players and start to get a feel watching all those reps. And, you know, we're not coming in, you know, quite as, you know, fresh faced as we were the year before. Now we haven't done 162 grind together, but going into last year, we hadn't played through a pandemic. So there's going to be unique challenges every year. Certainly the experience helps. Certainly, you know, getting to know the people last year and having to work with them, you know, it's been, you know, it's just fun to see everybody back. And so, you know, as opposed to introducing yourself 50,000 times a day, you know, you're giving elbow bumps or, you know, waves or you know, and talking about how the off season was. And so it's a lot more natural.
Were there any people who you communicated with a lot over the off season?
Yeah, Britt stays on top of the group text pretty good. So we're always usually throwing jabs and barbs in there, whether, it's related to the team or it's, union stuff or, whatever it may be that we communicate. And then of course, I've got close to a few teammates that I kept up with pretty regularly. And then as we, start to conjugate through spring training and we all start to kind of get the itch, those conversations through the group chats, kind of flow a little better and maybe peel off into a private conversation or a phone call here or there. So, everybody's excited to be back, and that vibe is certainly present.
We're going to take a couple more. We have Darren O'Day, Zach Britton, and Aaron Boone to follow. Tina Servasio, you have the next question. Go ahead.
Hi, Gerrit. Two questions. One has nothing to do with baseball, so I'll start with the baseball question. Every year in spring training, the expectations are the same for the Yankees. It's to win a World Series championship. For you personally, especially coming into your second year, but knowing there's a full safe season ahead of you now, what are your personal expectations and goals for yourself this year?
Yeah, I mean, goal is to improve throughout the year. Goal is to do my job, post up all my starts, and be pitching at my best level. When it counts the most. We balance the length of the season with with the importance of the games in the postseason. And so, that's always a challenge. It's what makes the major league so unique. And so every year, I mean, it's not like a new goal, but it's a goal that presents different ways that you're going to have to go about it each year. And so that's kind of my goal. I mean, I did mention, in an interview, previously and with an earlier question that, I want to put a little bit more emphasis on bringing out a better delivery sooner. I think last year, it was so important to just get going and hammer the volume and be able to balance the rotation by just being prepared to throw as many innings as I possibly could early, and to, not try to get guys overexposed. And so we have a little bit more linked here. We have a little bit more time. So really staying disciplined on terms of that delivery and then finishing strong.
And just want to follow up on something Jameson said when he had his initial press conference. He raved about your close relationship and that you guys, when it was safe, used to get together for dinner. And you were the guy who did the big wine pair. I don't know. I just wanted to kind of curious about your knowledge in the wine pairings, if you cook to the wine or selection, just a little background on some of those moments with you and him and those particular meals.
Sure. I think you can go two directions, right? You can kind of pick a cuisine and match it with a wine, or you can get really excited about buying a wine and then, match the cuisine. I enjoy cooking. Both my parents kind of are fantastic cooks and really the inspiration for why I enjoy, sitting down at the table and hosting. And so, depending on the vibe, like I said, we go one direction or the other. And I just think it's such a fun way to interact with people and spend quality time. And, and it just seems to be more and more important in a day where it's harder to get away from screens. I mean, we're doing press conference in front of screens. And again, when it's safe, to be able to do those kinds of things again, we'll jump back into it. So hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Bruce Beck, please unmute.
Gerrit, I hope you're well. Just overall here, how driven are you to win a championship for this franchise, for this city? And does team success to you supersede all the individual accolades and individual accomplishments?
I think certainly. I mean, I'm extremely driven for a championship. I think above all, when we show up to the field as players, time and time again, you're hearing players when they go to teams that, go to teams that aren't competing to teams that are competing in free agency or trades. You hear the same comments over again. Man, it's just so refreshing to be at a place where we're going to win or we're striving for a championship. So every time we lace it up as players, I think that's the goal. Certainly here, that characteristic permeates not through the players, but, through the rest of the organization. And then from a personal, kind of take care of your own business standpoint, the players, this game is a wonderful blend of individuality and cohesiveness at the same time, and team play at the same time. So, we've always been told, and I can't remember who told me it, but I've, stuck with it for my career, is that, you do have to take care of the things that you need to take care of. If you're not performing, at the level you should be performing, or you're not in a position to, to play as much or take the load, then ultimately you're not helping the team. A player playing at the best of, at his best level is ultimately going to be what's best for the team. So to a certain extent, you are focused on yourself and your preparation and your deliberate approach to try to, provide the best possible product out there. But when you play, we play to win. So personal accolades at that point, take a back seat.
Thank you.
Bob Clappish, please unmute. Go ahead.
Hey, Gerrit, you mentioned a little while back that you were emotionally affected by the way the season ended last year. I'm just curious, did you continue to watch the postseason? Did you watch the World Series, or did you just shut that all down?
I did. I did.
You did watch, or you did shut down?
I watched. Yeah, I didn't watch it religiously, but I still watched it. So, yeah.
Was it hard to watch, knowing that you came very close to being there?
Oh, it's not easy, anytime. But I don't know. There's not a whole lot else to do. So I mean, baseball was the only thing that was on, and I still enjoy watching baseball. And so, when you're cooking a steak and drinking a bottle of wine with your family, the postseason's on in the background. So.
Ron Blum, go ahead, please unmute.
Thank you.
Hi, Gerrit. In your new role on the executive subcommittee, how important do you want to see some of the holdups in free agency and arbitration for young prospects rules changed? And do you see a great need to change the disincentives against tanking or rebuilding, as the teams call it?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Ron. You're always bringing good questions to the table. I would say that both of those things are linked, right, to a certain extent. Competition and the manipulation of some of the rules within the loopholes as it relates to service time, arbitration, and free agency. I think if you have people competing, there's certainly no ceiling on those things, so you can compete as much as you want. But if you're not competing, there is no floor, so you can not compete as much as you want to. And I think when we're thinking about the industry as a whole, and we're thinking of why people want to watch us and the entertainment that we bring, live sports is all about competitiveness. It's about analytics, but it's also about narrative. It's also about players and creating magic on the field and underdogs winning and the all-time greats continuing to set an example, much like if a team came out of nowhere and won the Super Bowl, or Tom Brady wins it for his 7th time. I think there's a beauty in both of those kind of things, and I think that any industry should focus a lot on competitiveness and hold their hold the teams accountable. And so how we go about that, I don't have, the exact answers, but I can tell you that that's an important focus, competitiveness from the top to the bottom. We don't want any more inefficiencies.
Thank you.
Take the last two. Erico, you have the next one. Please unmute.
Hey, Gerrit, you mentioned about seeing your teammate after the offseason, but what was your reaction about Tanaka went back to Japan and signed his former team? And also during the press conference in Japan, he mentioned that he still have some unfinished business in the major league. Would you like to play with him again as a teammate?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that Moss doesn't bring to the table that is anything short of world class. So, wonderful person, wonderful teammate. I know he was. We had talked kind of about the grand scheme of things. Playing in front of his fans in Japan and playing specifically for the Eagles was was another one of those things that he mentioned that he maybe had some unfinished business with. So I've been texting him quite a bit lately. Apparently he's hitting, which I mean, that's a little bit iffy. He's got to watch those hamstrings. I'm sure his trainers over there are, you know, and Shingo are watching very, very closely. So I do miss him a little bit. I miss his smile. He's just, he's got a good personality and a good image. And I would love to play for him again. And if he does have unfinished business out here, you know, I'm a big fan of his. So you know, I'll be rooting for him to finish whatever business he feels is undone. And if it's in a Yankees jersey, that would be wonderful. But as far as this year, huge Eagles fan. I heard they're pretty good. And so rooting for him.
Thank you.
Take a final question from Andy Martino.
Gerrit, my question was similar to Ron's on the PA situation. So I guess I'll follow up by asking why you personally felt interested in joining the executive subcommittee, and in a CBA year, if there are particular issues that you're personally interested in engaging in your role. What drew you to it?
Well, the first person that drew me to it was probably Neil Walker. He was our first rep in Pittsburgh, and you know we had a lot of guys involved at that point. Tony Watson, Jared Hughes, Justin Morneau, and you know Neil wanted to teach me kind of the ropes and kind of about the system in general. So he took me under his wing, and for the few years that we played together, you know he showed me the roles of player rep. So I took it over, and then when I left Pittsburgh and I went to Houston, I had done the same thing with Jameson. Jameson took over the club rep in Pittsburgh. When I got to Houston, we had already had 2 reps that were pretty fantastic. Colin McHugh's on the executive council, and Lance McCullers is our rep as well. So it was more of a backseat role there. And then as we got to here, we have, you know, one of all-time greats, Zach Britton. So, and Adam Ottavino is a great rep as well. I remember dealing with Adam a few times in Colorado on the phone with rain delays. So that's a little bit of the history of why I got into it. The role that I'm in now, you know, I was voted in and I was nominated by fellow players. So that was a pretty humbling experience. I think usually those votes are in person, and you know, so having it, you know, be on Zoom and waiting for it to unfold was like, you know, I was like put the you know, stop videos, you know, and I was like sweating nervously and hoping that I was going to get it. And then, you know, when I got it, I clicked it back on, like, you know, I was unfazed. So that was a bit bizarre, but it means a lot to be elected, you know, by your peers to a situation like that. Again, for me, it just goes back to competitiveness. You know, we have a lot of great veterans that offer great entertainment, quality style of baseball that continuously are getting pushed out. Because the surplus value on younger players is too high. The analytics are driving the game that direction. And, you know, we want to have an open field, you know, for clubs to be able to, you know, find talent, find surplus value. We want people to be forward thinking in all different areas of the game. But when it comes down to it, if we have clubs that aren't competing and they aren't doing right by their fan base, and clubs that win, you know, multiple World Series and then, you know, just tear it all down, I worry that we're losing generational fans. I worry that we're doing fans in those cities a disservice. So for me, obviously economics is important. I mean, you can't ignore any of those types of things, but for me, competitiveness is important. I would like to see, you know, the middle of divisions, the middle of the league, incentivized to compete. And I would like to stop seeing teams competing penalized for competing as well. There's maybe a little bit of an imbalance there that I think we can correct going forward. So I know those are general thoughts, and I'll just probably leave it at that. So,
okay, thank you.
Yep, pretty strong leadoff hitter for the Zoom lineup today. Gerrit, thank you very much.
All right,
have a good
see you,
day.
everybody. I see you out there tomorrow, I guess, too.
We have Aaron Boone coming in.